Yo, what's poppin' guys? Kaiser here with another Genshin Impact video. Today, we're going to be talking about the best 4-star spears in the game for Xiao, the upcoming 5-star banner character we've all been waiting for, so let's just get right into it. Now, the first spear I want to talk about is the Favonius Lance. Now, I know this is not by any means a best in slot spear for damage, okay? This is more of a worst case scenario. I'll get into that in a minute, but let's just get into its attributes first. So, it has energy recharge, as you could see, and then its ability is Windfall. Crit hits have a 60% chance to generate a small amount of elemental particles, which will generate 6 energy for the character. Can only recur once every 12 seconds. So, the reason you might want to run the Favonius Lance is if Xiao comes out and his energy just regen is bad, okay? It comes out, energy particle generation, bad, then you might want to run this. This might be a solid option because, I mean, if you're not going to be able to use your abilities, that's going to be a DPS loss, maybe more DPS loss than by, using this over another spear, but that all depends on his stats when he comes out because, of course, the links we have right now could very much change. We don't know exactly how he plays in the current Chinese test server, right? So we can't say for sure whether or not this would be a good option. This is a contender, okay? So keep this in mind. Favonius Lance could be a good option depending on how bad his energy is. The next option I want to consider for this video is the Crescent Pike. Now, this also isn't a top option for him because, as you can see, it does physical damage bonus, and Xiao is going to be doing lots of anemo damage with his ultimate. But the Infusion Needle ability is still pretty solid. After picking up an Elemental Orb / Particle, normal and charged attacks deal an additional 20% attack damage for 5 seconds. Now, assuming that we're going to be using lots of auto attacks, right? AA attacks. Assuming we use lots of those, then this will be also a very solid option, despite the physical damage bonus. Just because the Infusion Needle ability on the Crescent Pike is just so good as it is, that it can completely make up for the physical damage bonus. Again, assuming we're going to be doing lots of auto normal attacks, right? So that's something to consider as well. Again, this is not a top contender, but depending on how Xiao's kit looks like once he actually releases, we'll have to wait and see. Now, before we get into what I consider the 2 top 4-star spears in the game for Xiao, there's one other I really want to talk about, but can't, because it's not the official type of weapon, if you know what I mean, right? I'm not really supposed to talk about it, but what I will say is there is a spear in a database that looks like it will be pretty good for Xiao, or characters like Xiao. Now, keep in mind, Xiao is from Liyue. Characters like Xiao would also be from Liyue. So say you have a team that's very, very, very Liyue, then it could be a good option. That's all I'm gonna say. All I can say, it's looking like a good option, but yeah, that's I'm not gonna go into any more detail because I don't want MiHoYo to send their hit squad after me. Now here we are, guys. These are, in my opinion, the top 2 4-star spears in the game for Xiao, and both of them, right? Both of them are extremely solid options. You honestly can't go wrong either way in my eyes. The first one I want to talk about is the Blackcliff pole. I am going to get into the pros and cons of each once I get over their stats, okay? So this one gives you crit damage, which is amazing. Crit scale amazingly with Xiao. Then the ability, press the advantage. After defeating an opponent, attack is increased by 12% for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. This effect has a maximum of 3 stacks. Duration is independent of the others. So this spear right here is just phenomenal for situations where you're going to be fighting multiple enemies. Say the Abyss, right? In-game content like that. Hey, you have multiple enemies. Now what this spear is not good for is bosses, because obviously you're going to... This spear basically performs better the more stacks you have. And if you're fighting bosses, and that's just a one opponent, then you're not going to be getting any stacks because you have to kill the boss to get a stack, right? So just, this spear does not work with bosses, but against Abyss, where you have lots of floods of enemies, then this could also be just a phenomenal option. It scales really well, assuming you have at least 2 stacks, right? If you get 2 stacks on this, it's amazing. If you just have 0 to 1 stacks, it's kind of mediocre, okay? But if you're looking for situations where you're gonna be getting lots of stacks, 2 to 3, this is a top tier option for him. The last 4-star spear I want to talk about is the Deathmatch. Now this one, not gonna lie, this is my favorite spear for him, okay? My absolute favorite. This one offers crit rate, and then the ability is Gladiator. If there are at least 2 opponents nearby, attack is increased by 16%, and defense is increased by 16%. If there are less than 2 opponents nearby, attack is increased by 24%. Now this spear, on the contrary, to the Blackcliff one we looked at earlier, is phenomenal against bosses because against a single opponent, which would be less than 2 enemies, attack is increased by 24%. And then if you're fighting lots of enemies in the Abyss, you're gonna get still gonna get some attack, right? Not as much, you're still gonna get some attack, and you're gonna get defense as well. So no matter what you do, no matter what you're doing, right? This is a very versatile spear. Versatile option, you'll be able to use it in any kind of situation, but it will perform exceptionally well against bosses. Now, between the Blackcliff spear and this one, Deathmatch, both are amazing. It really comes down honestly to your stats and substats. If you have lots and lots of crit rate already, then you might not want Deathmatch, right? So you got a phenomenally rolled crit rate headpiece for Xiao saved up, then you might want to get Blackcliff for the crit damage to balance it out. Now, on the contrary, if you have a bunch of crit damage already, this spear makes it really easy for you. All you have to do in your artifacts is just stack crit damage all the way through, and then you just slap the spear on, plus Xiao's Ascension, which is supposed to be crit rate as well, unless they change it, which, don't get me wrong, they could still change it before release, but assuming they don't, then this plus his Ascension, I mean, that's pretty much all the crit rate you need, to be honest. And then you just roll all crit damage, really easy to build. Deathmatch, in my opinion, is my favorite. Versatile, easy to build, but Blackcliff could also perform just as well, or even better, if you have 2 to 3 stacks, then it depends on the situation, of course, right? But both of them, in my opinion, tied, they're equally good. It all comes down to personal preference and what your stats are. But yeah, guys, that is it for this video. If you found it helpful in any way, shape, or form, please be sure to smash that like button. I'd really appreciate if you subscribed. It would really help me out so much. And yeah, guys, that's it for today. Kai Zerker out. Peace and booyah.